Hello again, I am Blunty, and this is the controller that belonged to the camera-toting quadcopter I recently reviewed. Well, half reviewed, seeing as it flew away and I lost it before I could complete all the tests I wanted to do for the full review. In fact, that was the second one I lost. The first one drowned. So, anyway, yesterday I got this, and it's called the Nano Quad from Revell, but it can also be commonly found under the name of Proto X, and it's one of the most popular choices for nano-sized drones around. At least when it first came out, it was touted as the world's smallest nano quad. I'm not sure whether that title has been given up yet, but, you know, it's tiny. It's teeny tiny. Teeny, teeny, weeny, teeny, 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 weeny, tiny. I think that was enough weenies. Anyway, I've seen many vids of highly experienced hobbyists sing its praises as I've been trawling through YouTube looking at drone vids as my own obsession continues to grow. So when I spotted it on the shelf of my local hobby shop, I snatched it up. Mainly I just wanted something I could fly indoors so I could practice flight control without worrying about the weather or indeed flyaways. But it turns out even this little guy works surprisingly well outside as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now there's really not that much to it. 4 tiny motors, props including a full set of spares, and a plastic shell to help protect its guts and its battery. The arms for the motors are part of the circuit board itself to help keep construction simple and the weight of extra components low, and as you can see, it's festooned with tiny but remarkably bright LED lights, partly to look cool and partly to make it nice and easy to see which way you're pointing, red lights at the back. The battery, by the way, unlike almost every other nano quad out there, can actually be replaced. It's not soldered in, but it uses a common plug type used on most small quads. It's also one of the very few nano quads that you can actually buy spare parts for. Most importantly, spare props, and batteries and prop cards and all that kind of stuff as well. Charging is done via a USB cable, which connects directly to contacts which are, again, an extension of the circuit board itself, keeping things nice and simple. The controller is very simple too, and very tiny, verging on too tiny for my big man hands if I'm honest with you, but it's actually shockingly responsive. The feel and control offered is very finely tuned indeed. It looks like a stupid little plastic toy, but it's actually really well put together. I was surprised. Combine the surprisingly excellent controller with the full 6-axis accelerometer stabilization crammed into the tiny chopper, and the flight experience is, well, it's bewilderingly good. In a word, it's so responsive and so stable, even throwing it haphazardly into the air, it'll right itself in the blink of an eye. It's amazing. Now, aside from the auto leveling, there's no other assistance on board, so flying this in a well-controlled flight path does require a bit of care and practice and skill. The box suggests an intermediate to advanced skill level. Personally, I am still a noob, but I'm getting better every flight, and the responsiveness and highly reactive control of this little bugger is making it a superb learning aid. Despite it being more of an indoor toy, I did take a brave pill and head outdoors with it at the risk of it getting caught in a breeze and flying away like my other quads have done. But I actually had way more fun with it outdoors than I did indoors even. Mainly because I had lots of room to swoop around, and this thing swoops really lovely. The controller range is said to be about 30 meters, but I never experienced an out-of-range issue, basically because the thing is so tiny, you lose sight of it before you lose the ability to control it. So the range, although it feels small, is actually perfectly adequate. I only have 2 complaints about this nano quad so far. The first one is that the props come off way too easily, and I'm talking any minor crash or even awkward landing more often than not makes one or more of the props fly off, making them very easy to lose. And in fact, I have lost one already. It's under my couch somewhere, but I'll be damned if I can find it. I ended up using a very small amount of super glue to help keep them on, but not so much that I can't get them off again if they do get too chewed up to be flight worthy. The second of my issues is that the low battery warning, which makes all of the onboard lights blink, comes on way too soon. Flight time is somewhere between 5 and 8 minutes depending on how aggressively you're flying, and charge time, by the way, is about 30 minutes, which isn't a bad ratio at all. But that low battery blinking comes on after about 3 minutes or so. I feel like I get more flight time while they're blinking than I do before it tries to warn me that the battery's going to die. Hardly a deal breaker, is it? But it's a small annoyance. Anyway, because of that relatively rapid charge time and USB charging, it's actually practical to recharge in between flights while out in the world from a USB battery backup thingy that they sell for phones and tablets and such. The quad is surprisingly robust too, at least once I glued the props on so I could stop losing the damn things. It's taken a lot of spills, rough landings, and bounced off half the furniture in my apartment, and it's still going strong. And thanks to the bright and clear lights on board, even flying in the dark is easy. I've also been doing a little playing around with long exposure photography light painting with it, and I've got some very encouraging results so far. Also amongst my experiments was discovering the motors were unexpectedly powerful. You'd assume something made this small and this light, there'd not be much power going spare anywhere, but there's enough for cargo here, believe it or not. I hauled a Lego minifigure up and was able to maintain control and my ability to continuously hover in place without any problem at all. It was remarkably stable with a Lego man glued to the bottom of it with a bit of blue tack. This comically tiny little quadcopter is amazingly impressive. I'm falling in love a bit with it. One of these tiny little buggers will set you back about $50 ready to fly, well, except for the 2 AAA batteries you'll need for the controller. The thing is honestly amazing. It's charmed me so very thoroughly that I think I'll even give it a name. Maybe Bob. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time.